The first $4,000 payment to remove a mature tree nearly sent me to an early grave. But the second and the third tree removal, for a total of $12,000, which we'll never see back, will be the expense that kills me. Truthfully, I wish the tree had fallen straight onto our house for the insurance payout. If only we had been renting. This is a quote from Jim, 41, New York, in response to a poll by BuzzFeed on whether homeowners regret buying their homes and are returning to renting. And he's not alone. According to Real Estate Witch, more than 1 in 4 homeowners, 28%, say the high cost of owning a home makes them want to go back to renting. Nearly half of homeowners, 49%, spend more money owning a home than they did when they were renting. So is it better to just rent rather than dealing with buying a home? Or are you throwing money away to support your landlord's mortgage? Owning a home was always the American dream. So why are homeowners regretting buying and going back to renting? So today, we're going to go through the main reasons homeowners are regretting buying their home and are going back to renting, as well as the differences between owning your home and renting, so you can see for yourself which works best for you. It's not as black and white as most people think. And stay tuned till the end, because I've got some crazy stories to tell you and a hot tip that could save you from a possible mess. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. So let's dive right in. I was misinformed about home equity and how it works. I'm embarrassed to admit it, but I thought that you'd see every dollar back on the repairs and upgrades you do to your home, and I couldn't have been more wrong. We put around $100,000 into our first home over the course of 10 or so years. We sold it at a $25,000 loss, even though the cost of property in our neighborhood skyrocketed over those 10 years. I wish I could say that this person is an anomaly, but they're not. Real Estate Witch reports that the typical homeowner spends around $18,000 a year on home expenses, according to a survey of 1,000 homeowners. And this doesn't include your mortgage payments, which are comprised of principal and interest. Of that $18,000, half of it went to maintenance and home improvements, and the other half went to home insurance, property taxes, and utilities. So check this out. They write that spending $17,958 or $18,000 per year, it would take a homeowner just 5 years and 7 months to rack up $100,000 in additional expenses. Over a 30-year mortgage, that totals to $538,740. More than $500,000. You got enough to buy a second house. In addition, nearly 1 in 4 homeowners, 23%, say they spend over 30% of their income on expenses such as maintenance, improvements, taxes, insurance, and utilities. The Department of Housing and Urban Development says housing is no longer considered affordable once it requires over 30% of one's income. Even if the mortgage was paid off, 23% of homeowners would still pay unaffordable expenses to live in their home. And sadly, 1 in 5 homeowners have taken on additional debt to pay for hidden costs of homeownership, and about 69% have taken risks or made personal sacrifices just to afford additional homeownership expenses. Real Estate Witch lists the most common costs that turned out to be pricier than anticipated. So let's take a look. Property taxes, 35%. Roof work, 27%. Making renovations, 27%. HVAC, furnace, air conditioning, 26%. Plumbing costs, 25%. Homeowners insurance, 24%. Maintaining the home's appearance, 24%. Utilities, 23%. Electrical work, 22%. Yard work, 20%. Upgrading appliances, 20%. Appliance repairs, 17%. HOA fees, 16%. Foundation repairs, 14%. And home cleaning, 12%. Sounds overwhelming, right? I mean, do you think it's worth owning a home? Let's go through the main pros and cons of renting versus owning. Jim Probasco breaks it all down really nicely in an article for Fortune, so let's go through them real quick. The first thing is your monthly housing payment. As a homeowner, you make a monthly mortgage payment, which is a combination of interest and principal, and in most cases is set for 30 years and it does not change. After 30 years, your loan is paid off and you own the property outright. As a renter, you make a monthly payment called rent, and this money includes repairs and maintenance. You don't own the property, you just borrow it 1 month at a time. And your rent typically does go up on a yearly basis. Okay, the second thing, mortgage interest. As a homeowner, if interest rates go down, you have the option to refinance your loan and possibly make a lower monthly payment. You can also deduct interest payments on your taxes every year. clear, but only if you itemize rather than taking the standard deduction. As a renter, since there's no loan involved, you can't refinance your rent payments, and rent is not a deductible expense on your taxes. So far, I think it's homeowner 2, renter 0. Let's continue. Property taxes. Homeowner, you pay local property taxes to the taxing authority, which you can deduct when you file your income taxes up to $10,000. Renter, most often landlords include taxes and other costs into your rent. These costs are not deductible by you. Another one for homeowners, the renters are still at 0. Maintenance, this may change things. Homeowner, you bear the costs of maintaining the home you own. This could include anything from replacing a roof, buying a new water heater, repairing a damaged driveway, or a foundation. If something breaks down, as the homeowner, you have to fix it. Renter, you are not responsible for maintaining your home or apartment. When it comes to replacing owner-provided appliances, fixing plumbing issues, painting, or remodeling. As with taxes, your rent probably includes the landlord's estimate of maintaining the property. But in the end, it's the landlord who is legally required to maintain the property condition. I think now we got 1 for renters and 3 for homeowners. Let's continue. Next up is insurance, and I feel like renters may be catching up a bit. Homeowner. Homeowner's insurance has to cover the dwelling, including damages by water or fire, and all of your personal belongings. It must also provide liability coverage. Homeowner's insurance can cost up to 8 times the cost of a renter's policy. Renter. Renter's insurance is less expensive than homeowner's insurance because you only have to cover your personal property, not the building where you reside. It also includes personal liability insurance in the event someone is injured on your property and it's your fault. So I think we're at owner 3, renter 2. Next up, equity. Homeowner. Since you own the home, any appreciation of value or your equity is yours. Most homes do go up in value over time, though like any investment, it is possible that your home could also go down in value. When you sell your home, you cash in on all that equity as your profit. You can also borrow money on that equity in the form of a HELOC, a home equity line of credit, or a cash out refi. Renter. You don't earn any equity or lose it because you don't own the home or apartment where you live. Equity, or the increase in value over time, only goes to the person that owns the property. I think now we're at owners 4, renters 2. Let's continue. Next up is lifestyle. If you like the area where you live, are generally ready to settle down for at least 5 years, put down roots, keep the same job, being a homeowner is most likely a good fit for you. Renter. If you like to move around or you lack job security, are not ready to stay in place for at least 5 years, renting probably makes more sense for you right now. I think for this one, we got a tie because it really depends on your particular lifestyle. And lastly, peace of mind versus flexibility. Homeowner. When you own a home, it can't be sold without your permission as long as you keep making your payments on time. If this peace of mind resonates strongly with you, well then homeownership is the way to go. Renter. Renters trade the peace of mind of ownership with the flexibility to easily move to another location. As long as that flexibility is important to you, renting may be a better choice for you, at least for now. So this one I also think is kind of a tie depending on your sensibility. So as you can see, the decision of whether to rent or buy is not just about which is less expensive. I think in our little game we had homeownership 4, renting 2, and then 2 ties, which could go to the renter depending on your sensibility. So it really depends on what you want. For me personally, I'm more comfortable knowing I own my home and I can do anything I want to it, and I'm building equity. It just feels better to me and makes me feel more secure. But I also have an emergency savings account that I've always had ever since I bought my first home to put money into to offset any big expense that comes along. So if I need a new roof, which I've done, I don't freak out because I have that money put aside. I try and keep it in a high interest money market account so it's doing something in the meantime. But that's just me. Other people, more than I anticipated, prefer renting even after they've already owned a home. So let's take a look at why some people have decided to forego home ownership and return to renting. These are all taken from Ross Yoder's article for BuzzFeed. I bought a house with my ex and I got it in the divorce. I'm no do-it-yourselfer and everything was aging badly. I didn't have enough money to hire anyone to fix things. I was at the end of my rope and I sold the house. I never again want to be unable to sleep because I'm listening for the furnace to come on, terrified that it was broken too. This was written by Heather. It can be scary to own a house on your own, but here's the thing. You can do it, but if you are going to do this, do what I'm doing. Have an emergency fund set aside before you buy your house so you don't don't have to lose sleep and deal with that anxiety, because you know if something happens, you will have the money to fix it. Next up, my sister decided to sell her house because fixing everything that fell apart was hitting the $100,000 range. When the basement walls started to bow out, she said F it and went back to renting. She owned the house for 15 years, and it was all fine until one winter when it all went to hell. I can see that happening. Hopefully she got like the good 15 years out of it. It doesn't really sound like it. It sounds like it's left a really bad taste in her mouth, but things happen. So it was after 15 years. So I'm hoping to get some good years out of it. Okay, next up. My partner and I decided to rent instead of buying a house together. We're in our mid-50s and need to save for a down payment. Housing prices are ridiculous where we are. We decided that to get a house we wanted and not be house poor, renting made more sense. Now we're still able to travel and enjoy life, plus we can continue to save for our retirement. We couldn't do that if we had bought a house. I completely support this line of thinking. They're making a rational decision based on their age and their lifestyle, and it makes sense. Okay, next up. As someone living paycheck to paycheck who somehow managed to snag an affordable home many years ago, I can't tell you how hard it is to still budget properly as a non-rich homeowner. I miss the days of renting. Even though I was effectively throwing my savings into the trash each month, I knew exactly what life would cost me. Now it's anyone's guess. Some months I pay nothing in maintenance, and other times I'm taking out a $10,000 loan to pay for new floors after a catastrophic leak. This is Rachel, 49, from Louisiana. I don't know, Rachel, you got an affordable home. I think that that's great. You own your home. Hopefully you're building equity, and when you go to sell it, you know, all those bad days of paying for leaks and paying and getting loans will have worked itself out. That's my hope for you, that you bought it at affordable. Home prices have gone up so much that you're building a lot of equity. That's my hope for you. Next up is Maggie, 37, New York. After a horrible town-wide flood our first year in our home, I find myself frequently sick to my stomach thinking about how bad weather will get in the coming years and how we'll be throwing hundreds of thousands of dollars down the drain should we ever need to leave for good. Who's gonna buy a $400,000 house in an area that floods twice a year? Well, Maggie, you did. We're thinking about listing it before it's too late. I'd rather get out while I can. If we were renting, it would be as simple as breaking our lease or waiting a number of months for it to expire. Maggie, all I have to say is somebody will buy your house. You did. I don't know where in New York you are, but maybe you're near a beach. Is that why you get flooded so much, near a body of water? And that really does appeal to people. So I hope the best for you, and it sounds like you probably should sell it sooner rather than later so you don't have this constant worrying about the weather. But I don't envy you, because I know flood insurance is so expensive. And finally, this poor person who posted anonymously. I was happy renting and probably would have been happier by continuing to do so. But the new manager doubled the rent. So we bought a new build home in a small town, and the first month was traumatic. A pressure test was done on our drain line before the house was sold, and it was fine. However, the balloon used in said test broke and was left inside the line, literally at the boundary between our property and the city line. The first time I ran the dishwasher, guess where all the sewage ended up? Yep, every drain in my home. This is so gross, and I'm so sorry. Something similar actually happened to a friend of mine, but in her case, the sewer backup flooded her basement, and the entire basement was flooded with sewer water. So disgusting. The only saving grace, and this is where my hot tip comes in, was that she had additional coverage on her home insurance that covered that sewer line. So she ended up getting a brand new basement, all paid for by insurance. Mind you, personally, I probably still would have moved. The thought of it, I just don't think I could take it. So this is my hot tip that I mentioned at the beginning of this video. If you are watching this and you're a homeowner, or your parents are homeowners, or your brother, or your sister, or your friends, anybody you know, including yourself, make sure you call your home insurance provider and ask them for sewer backup coverage. It is not at all expensive, and it is 100% worth it, because this can happen. All it takes is one neighbor putting a lot of grease and oil down their sink, and this can cause a backup. And you do not want to be on the receiving end of this and not have your insurance cover it, because it can be a big deal and a mess. So this is a great tip for you or anyone you know. Call your home insurance, do it immediately. Get that coverage added to your insurance. You won't regret it. Regretting buying a home is becoming more common than ever. If you missed our video where we went through why 82% of buyers regretted buying their home, definitely check it out next. It's a good one. Thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. Bye!